the major Indian newspapers these past few days carried one advertisement warning against, guess what? Warning against science. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story, and this is our special focus on the broadcast today. A contentious advertisement by Baba Ramdev that you'll be seeing shortly on your screen and his Patanjali empire. This ad that appeared in almost all prominent newspapers, and remember, Ramdev is a supremely influential self-appointed, as it were, seer with access to politicians and political friends across the spectrum, has often ranted against allopathy. And in this latest advertisement, he actually spoke about how Ayurveda could do what allopathy could not, and he was warning people against what he called allopathy ka Chhoot, the lies of allopathy, offering permanent cures for incurable diseases. How does Ramdev get away with what is blatantly fake news? And why has there been such little public attention to this advertisement? Let's introduce our guests on the program today. We are joined by Dr. Rajni Bhat, who is, of course, a very well-known pulmonologist. Welcome to the program. We're also joined by Ayurveda practitioner and expert, Dr. Parmeshwar Arora. Namaskar and welcome to the program. And finally, Dilip Cherian, brand and image guru, joins us as well. And let's remember that Ramdev is a gigantic brand and a commercial success, and a man with great influence, which is why he seems to repeatedly be able to get away with his attacks on allopathy. Let's look at the ad itself first, Dr. Bhatt. I'll ask you to take us through what leapt out at you in this particular advertisement. The advertisement says two things. The advertisement talks about the lies of allopathy, the so-called lies of allopathy, but it also talks about how Ayurveda and a one week residential stay in one of Patanjali's wellness centers can actually cure you of what are incurable and chronic diseases. Your comments at this point? This is deja vu. This happened at the height of the second wave as well, and now it's happening again.
Um, it's hard to, figure out where to begin when such tall claims are made, Barkha, because the idea that someone who's making tall claims of curing diseases which we know are chronic lifestyle diseases in a matter of 7 days magically, this is exactly what this ad says modern medicine is falsely leading people on about. So it's, hello, Mr. Pot, this is Mr. Kettle, and I'm calling you black. But that's absolutely unfounded. The idea that modern medicine misleads people in itself is a lie. We are regulated by very strict standards. We all follow a code of ethics in terms of what we can and cannot advertise about in modern medicine. Whether it's a doctor or a pharmaceutical company, there are strict regulations on what we can make claims about. Most of us would hesitate before we use the word cure. Cure is such a powerful word. There are so few diseases in this world that can be cured. We can treat, we can manage, we can help regulate a lot. And I think that's the main problem here. We have a breakdown of doctor-patient communication and relationships, and this ad is adding to that bundle of lies. That's the immediate reaction that I have.
What is the most dangerous thing that this advertisement propagates? Because it's a twofold set of lies. One is what it claims to be what allopathy cannot do. For example, it talks about how UTI and heart disease, for which there are established evidence-based medical treatments, it argues that no such treatment actually exists. It also makes the point that wellness centers and stay even a week in a Patanjali wellness center can cure you for chronic and incurable diseases. So what is the most dangerous thing, according to you, in this particular advertisement, Rajni?
I think two things. One is that it preys on the sensibilities of people who are suffering. That in itself is unethical. The second is, as the ad says, that it cures you of conditions, which is like absolving any kind of a prolonged partnership between a person who is a health practitioner and the patient, and understanding their disease and taking charge of a disease. It says, come stay with me for 1 week, everything will be okay. This is more magic talk rather than medicine. That itself is problematic. And I object to the implication that modern medicine is not a holistic approach. I feel that these terms, holistic, integrated, well-being, have been hijacked by the alternative medicine community. Modern medicine is all of those things. When, as a modern medicine practitioner, I don't even like using the term allopathy. I'm a modern science, modern medicine practitioner. Um, this is what we advocate for: a healthy lifestyle. We advocate for nutrition, we advocate for exercise, we advocate for mental health, and we advocate for the right medications for the right condition to treat the physiology which is causing the condition in a patient. This does none of those things. It does none
Yeah.
of those things.
And of course, the Dilip, if I can come to you now, the battle lines have often been drawn between Ramdev and the medical community. We saw it at the height of the second wave when Ramdev actually had to take back his statement against allopathy. But to be able to advertise like this in violation, by the way, of the law in major Indian newspapers, there's a sense of impunity. And I don't know whether that comes from his political access, whether that comes from his commercial success, or a combination of both. How should the medical community respond? Are they also, in a way, not partially to blame, but have they taken on Ramdev enough? Has there been enough representation, for example, to government, to newspapers? Why has no one filed a case? Why have these ads not been taken down? Dilip, how do you see this controversy?
I think you've asked three questions, Barkha. The first is, what does this ad represent? The ad represents the triumph of chicanery over reality. That's the first thing. It actually falls into the realm of the code which says magic remedies, and there is a part of the CRPC which seeks to control that. And as somebody who sat on the Advertising Standards Council twice over the years as a board member, I can say that this is probably something that the Advertising Council ought to take cognizance of and act. That's one. The second, why is he able to do this? Because of what we would refer to as the mohol. Besides the fact that he has and flouts the kind of political access and support he has, there is also the fact that we are living at this point in time uh, in a situation where people are listening to the drumbeat of those who insist that the remedies are all Indian, native, born here, created here. So there is that aspect which we cannot avoid. As to the medical fraternity, whether they ought to have taken this on head on, the answer is, unfortunately, nobody takes any of these things head on. Associations are notoriously incapable of doing that because they're not nimble enough and they don't have the authority, because it's like trying to get a committee to decide on a declaration of war. It doesn't happen. You need one person who takes up the gauntlet and says, time to attack and let's go now. So I think that if you look at all this, we are at a dangerous point when huge public evidence of support is being seen, an environment has been created, and those who are attacked are willing to keep quiet and are almost kind of cowering for fear, in out of fear. And that is a very, very dangerous situation, because of the fact that what the ads are promising, it's simply all evidence suggests, including Ayurvedic evidence, that it is not possible to do this within a week. So even if one were to look at what the school of Ayurveda would say, this is simply not what the books of Ayurveda would say. So forget consistency with global scientific knowledge and wisdom. This is actually abuse of even Ayurveda's principles.
And I'll take that to Dr. Arora in just a minute, but I want Rajni to come in briefly on something that Dilip actually alludes to, more than alludes to, that the medical community, other than a few of you who may tweet your criticism, who may express your angst, who may come on programs like this, the medical community has failed in a way to act as a powerful pressure group to stop this kind of voodoo science, for lack of a better phrase. Why do you think that is? And do you agree with Dilip that somewhere the medical community itself, because of Ramdev's power, his influence, his money, his access to political power, is hesitant to take him on? Rajni?
Um, I, I would first start by I would preface by saying that to me, this is not about being against Ayurveda and systems and traditional systems of health practices. Those of us who've spoken up actively on Twitter, who you've alluded to a few in the modern medical community who speak up regularly. We speak up against false claims made by anybody, whether it's in modern medicine or in any alternative system of medicine. The medical community largely for a while has been saying, do we really need to? I think one of the things that's happened is, do we give it attention and then blow it up bigger than it actually is, or this is not something that even deserves to be addressed? The modern medical community needs to do a lot more with better health communication. The audience of today is looking for something, and it seems like this is the kind of communication that's winning. We're telling the truth that we're not going to cure you, we're going to help you, we're going to treat you, we're going to help you manage your disease better. This isn't what the society is looking for. They want quick fixes. I'm sorry, but that's not going to change my way of approaching and practicing medicine, which is to be honest with my patient and say, this is going to be work for you and me together. They don't want to hear that. And they're willing to accept this kind of and I've met good Ayurvedic practitioners who will not promise the sky, moon, and the earth in 1 week.
So let me bring in Dr. Parmeshwar Arora now. To Dilip Cherian's point and Dr. Rajni Bhatt's point that Ayurveda is getting a bad name with an advertisement that basically says, Dr. Arora, 1 week at a wellness center will give you what modern science, what allopathy cannot. You can see the ad and you can see Ramdev's own proclamation. Aapne bhi dekha hoga, Dr. Arora. As an Ayurveda practitioner, are you embarrassed by this advertisement?
पहली बात तो मैं मेरे प्रीवियस जो डॉक्टर हैं उनकी बात को फेवर करूंगा कि nobody can assure you that he or she can cure your blood pressure or diabetes or any lifestyle disorder. But एक चीज जरूर कहना चाहूंगा कि ऐसा नहीं है कि what allopathic cannot offer, Ayurveda भी ऑफर नहीं कर सकता. Because I am a practitioner and I see almost 80 to 100 patients every day, and I practice absolute 100% Ayurvedic medicines. And you will not believe, मेरे पास बहुत सारे patients ऐसे आते हैं, रोज 4-5 patients ऐसे आते हैं every day जो blood pressure की medicines लेते होते थे, but by the Ayurvedic medicines and practice of yoga and pranayam, now they don't need any medication. You trust me, बड़ा मुश्किल है किसी को ये एश्योर कर पाना कि हम आपका ब्लड प्रेशर क्योर कर देंगे, लेकिन ऐसे केसेस बहुत आते हैं. सो मेरा तो इस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक डिस्कशन जो हमारा है उसमें ये कहूंगा कि डेफिनेटली कंट्रोल के लिए मुझे भी एलोपैथिक मेडिसिन पे डिपेंडेंट होना पड़ता है ब्लड प्रेशर के लिए, लेकिन अगर आयुर्वेद को साथ में जोड़ लिया जाए तो देयर इज ए ग्रेट पॉसिबिलिटी दैट the patient can be out of medication.
But Dr. Arora, you are talking about synergies. अगर मैं इस advertisement पे वापस आपका ध्यान दूं, can we just bring up the ad? आप उस पे ऊपर देखेंगे कि एक लाइन लिखी है और उस लाइन पे सीधा लिखा है एलोपैथी द्वारा फैलाया गया झूठ. Right? This is not talking about Ayurveda and allopathy working together, Dr. Arora.
हाँ, ये देखिए इस तरह की चीजों से जब आज जिस तरह का माहौल है एंड मुझे लगता है कि एलोपैथ अपने आप में एक बहुत ही स्थापित विज्ञान है और पूरे विश्व को इससे फायदा हो रहा है. इवन मैं खुद, मेरी फैमिली, मेरे रिलेटिव, मेरे फ्रेंड्स, हम सब इससे बेनिफिटेड होते हैं. सो वी शुड रिस्पेक्ट अदर साइंस. ये ठीक नहीं है, किसी भी साइंस को गलत कहना ठीक नहीं है, लेकिन हाँ, every science has their own specialty and उसका यूज करके we are fortunate, we Indians are fortunate that we have good allopathic doctors as well as good Ayurvedic doctors, good yoga therapists. तो हमें इसका फायदा उठाना चाहिए, रादर हम उनको मिसगाइड करें कह करके कि ये पर्टिकुलर विज्ञान या साइंस तो पॉइंट ऑफर करती है या ये तो बेकार है. आई थिंक दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स शुड बी अवॉइडेड. आयुर्वेदा साथ करके, योग साथ में जोड़ करके, प्राणायाम
पर
साथ में जोड़
पर
करके, बिकॉज
पर इस जी, ये एडवर्टाइजमेंट प्राणायाम या योगा की बात नहीं करता, ये एक हफ्ते का मिरेकल क्योर ऑफर कर रहा है। मैं उस पर वापस आऊंगी। बिफोर वी कम टू डॉक्टर जयलाल ऑफ द इंडियन मेडिकल एसोसिएशन, दिलीप, इफ यू हैड टू स्पेसिफिकली से व्हाट यू थिंक in a way the modern medicine community or the allopathic medical community has failed to do, because why is this repeatedly happening? At the height of the second wave, the country really depended on doctors, and therefore their protest against Ramdev was taken seriously. Ramdev has clearly read the public mood. He knows that right now is not a moment of crisis, and he can place ads like this without too much pushback from the medical community. What would you have the medical community do that you think it hasn't done in taking on Ramdev's ad? Dilip.
Let's look at the constraints, Barkha. The fact is that Ramdev is a money spewing business. His turnover is huge. He has dominant market share in this in his part of the industry, and he is willing to put his money where his market is. Can this be combated by doctors on their own? The answer is no. Can this be combated by pharma companies on their own? The answer is yes. If pharma companies were to also turn their ire onto this kind of advertising and were to back the various doctors associations, if they are willing to speak, and come out with certain clarifications, taking them head on without necessarily giving him more airtime. I understand where that constraint comes from, but what we need is, I think, for doctors and the medical business, the pharmaceutical business, to come together. Don't forget, the pharmaceutical business is pretty under stress for a variety of reasons. But so is the Ayurvedic formulations business, also under stress, because globally as well as in India, questions are very often asked about their contents, purity, all of that. So if we compare like to like, pure to pure, and remove all the fake players and the problem of spurious stuff, essentially you are saying that it is quite possible, and the medical business put together, the practitioners as well as the hospitals as well as the pharmacies and the pharmaceutical companies, they have the muscle. Should they do it? Yes, they should do it. But is advertising alone enough? I think what is happening is that doctors speak with many voices when they are on the conventional scientific side. Sure, no doctor who is ethical can say this is completely wrong. And what was said about Ayurveda, the idea is not to attack something, but to establish the veracity, the reliability, and the replicability
I
of
mean, it
the
has to be about
experience.
evidence, right? I think
Yes.
no one, for example, disagrees with the health benefits of yoga, of meditation, of just simple inhale and exhale to reduce stress and therefore reduce spiraling blood pressures. But this is all evidence-based, sort of trial-based methodology. Dr. Jayalal, if I can ask you, do you feel helpless because the Indian Medical Association just a year ago took on Ramdev, and here he is again taking on allopathy? How do you see this ad, Dr. Jayala?
It is quite unfortunate, especially when after the successful implementation of the COVID care, and even at the threat of the fourth wave now, Ramdev has again issued that statement. And it exposed himself. I mean, what I believe is, whatever the statement which he has made, it exposed himself how unilliterate he is, how he is not knowledgeable about any of the situation. Certain diseases which he has mentioned, which we never say it is a disease, and certain things which he has said, it is well obvious known fact to everybody that this is well proved fact. I must just want to bring it only one fact. When India got independence, the infant mortality was 250. Today, the infant mortality has come down to less than 20. And when our people's life expectancy, when India got independence in 1947, which is even written in our books there, it is 37 to 38 years. Now today it is gone to 70 years. And if Ramdev says that allopathic medicine has not cured any people. I'm sure that the fact it's of India itself is standing that how much the modern medicine has helped our country. So
But
we
what
do
do you
not want to
plan to
have go back.
do? But what do you plan to do? You lead the Indian Medical Association. It's a consortium of doctors. It's a national body. What is it that you plan to do? Are you going to sue
Yeah,
Ramdev? Are
first
you
of
going to go
all,
to the health minister? What are you going to do?
no, we have done already our given our application, I mean, our points of views to the health ministry. What now we are planning is already there is a case in the Supreme Court in which Ramdev has given an assurance to the Supreme Court he will not talk anything badly about any other system of medicine. But unfortunately, the case is pending for a long time. Now we are going to file a case for that reopening of that case in the Supreme Court, in which his own statement of not talking anything against about allopathy, he is now going very publicly in all the newspapers. It is coming. So this fact we are going to bring, we have already to bring to the court, Supreme Court knowledge, and we will definitely make it as in a legal fight. And we don't want to make it as a public suffer on this. And there is no fight between neither Ayurveda or allopathy. We know this as learned people. We know that what is this system can do, what other system can do. That I fully agree that India needs that polypathy system to be followed. But somebody when valiantly coming at, we are also going to target it individually on him for his misconduct. And but I'm very shocked to see even such a noble newspapers, which we believe that just in the name of advertisement, such kind of can come into the advertisement is something very painful to note. We are going to take the case in the Supreme Court, and we will be fighting it in a way which is suitable way, and even necessary that we will even go to.
And you raise an interesting point. Whose responsibility is it that these advertisements are placed? Is it that of the media? Is it that of the advertising council? Is it that of the government? Or does this matter have to go back to court? I want to go to Dr. Arora here. Sir, when you saw this ad, आपने सबसे पहले क्या सोचा? जब आपने ये एडवर्टाइजमेंट देखी, इसके ऊपर जो चर्चा हुई देखी, आपने क्या सोचा?
देखिए, मैं बरका जी ये कहना चाहूंगा कि we have to respect each and every science, and every science is doing good. सबका अपना अपना स्पेशलाइजेशन है. We cannot ignore allopathic science as well Ayurvedic science. सबका अपना अपना स्पेसिफिक है, एंड हम ये नहीं बोल सकते कि एलोपैथिक साइंस में क्योर ऑफर नहीं होते. आयुर्वेदिक साइंस ही स्पेशलाइज फॉर क्योरिंग डिजीजेज, बट डेफिनेटली एक्यूट कंडीशन है, इमरजेंसीज हैं, so we have to go to allopathic doctors for the emergencies. When it comes for treating chronic diseases, definitely आयुर्वेद का बहुत अच्छा रोल है. बहुत सारे ऐसे पेशेंट्स हैं ब्लड शुगर के, ब्लड प्रेशर के, एलोपैथिक मेडिसिन से लेते हैं, लेकिन नहीं कंट्रोल भी नहीं होता. फॉरगेट अबाउट क्योर, कंट्रोल भी नहीं होता. जब हम और इवन एलोपैथिक डॉक्टर्स आप बोलते हैं उनको, भाई थोड़ा वॉक कीजिए, थोड़ा योगासन कीजिए, थोड़ा प्राणायाम कीजिए, मेडिटेशन कीजिए, डाइट पर कंट्रोल कीजिए, देन वी हैव द गुड कंट्रोल्स. तो कहने का मतलब है कि हर सिस्टम को एक दूसरे को कॉम्प्लीमेंट करना चाहिए. इस तरह के एड, इस तरह की बातें आई थिंक शुड बी अवॉइडेड. दे लुक नाइस, मतलब ये अच्छी बात नहीं है किसी भी साइंस को.
आपको इस एडवर्टाइजमेंट में कुछ सच लगा डॉक्टर अरोड़ा? इस एडवर्टाइजमेंट में डॉक्टर अरोड़ा आपको कहीं सच दिखा? डिड यू फाइंड एनी पार्ट ऑफ इट ट्रूथफुल?
देखिए, मैं फिर कह रहा हूं कि ये भ्रामक है. इससे मिसगाइड हो सकते हैं लोग, मिसलीड हो सकते हैं लोग. अचानक से अपनी एलोपैथिक मेडिसिन खोल करके दे कैन गो इनटू कॉम्प्लिकेशंस. सो हमें बहुत रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दिखानी चाहिए, अपनी चीजों को बहुत ही अनुशासन के साथ लोगों को बताना चाहिए. इफ वी हैव मेरिट्स देन वी शुड से द ट्रुथ. हमें बताना चाहिए कि हमारी लिमिटेशन क्या है, हम किस तरह से एडजुवेंट की तरह से काम कर सकते हैं, आपके लिए क्या अच्छा होगा. Definitely, we should complement to each other. We should help each other.
So let's imagine a different ad, Dr. Rajni Bhat. Let's imagine for a moment a different ad. Let's say the same Patanjali had put out an advertisement with hard data that is just out on antibiotic resistance, the very real problem that Indians are, and sometimes allopathic doctors are so quick to prescribe pills that people are building up a resistance to antibiotics. Let's say this ad had said, try natural treatment, do a 1-week retreat. Medicines are not the answer to everything. Discipline yourself. This is what the data tells you about how many Indians are resistant to antibiotics. Would that have been a different ad? Would that have been an ad based on something that we needed to engage with?
It's interesting that you brought up antimicrobial resistance, Barkha, because that's not an area that I think would apply to this context at all. Because the problem of overprescription of antibiotics or the pharma companies' role in the overprescription or the indiscriminate use of antibiotics is completely different from placing an ad in a newspaper promising cures of infections in 1 week with natural means. I think what Dr. Arora brought up is a really wonderful. I appreciate his words a lot, because when you mention what is the medical community doing, it's very important for voices like his within the Ayurvedic practitioners community, voices like his and Professor Kishore Patwardhan, who have been writing in the Indian Journal of Medical Ethics about how Ayurveda in the modern days needs deep introspection and adoption of modern scientific methods of proving their therapeutics. It is not okay in this day and age to make claims. It is not okay for them to even say, I have done this study, without putting themselves through peer review. Just saying I published a study in X journal does not mean the same as, is it an indexed journal? Did it go through a strict peer review process? Is it reproducible? Otherwise, again, these are tall claims, Barkha. And that's the problem. People use the language of modern science to make themselves sound credible.
Okay,
using the language is not the same as the science, actually.
I have to close. I'll give the last word to Dilip Cherian. You heard from Dr. Jayalal that they are planning to go to the Supreme Court, where Ramdev's assurance to the court will be wrenched open. But where does the buck stop here? Whose final responsibility is this advertisement and the claims made in it?
I think the final arbiter on this needs to be the government, which needs to have much stricter regulation on this kind of misleading claims. You can indicate directions, you can talk about benefits, but to say that in a certain fixed period of time you can cure completely a chronic disease is a claim which could actually harm people and make them believe what is not possible. If government does not step in very quickly, we are in danger of cultivating an attitude of non-scientific thinking, which could affect not just the current generations, but generations to come. And the damage could be pretty severe, and we probably don't even realize it. The gains that we had since independence will be washed out in no time if this kind of thing is allowed to persist in the public domain.
And ironically, all of this, as we emerge from the shadows of the pandemic, with talk of yet another new variant that is being looked at now by the World Health Organization as a possible source of reinfection. So extremely ironic. Dr. Bhat, Dr. Arora, Dr. Jayalal, Dilip Cherian, thank you. And to the media and colleagues in the media, I think some introspection there too is called for. This ad is in violation of advertising standards and multiple provisions of the law, and therefore the media too must reflect on its role in giving wide space to this advertisement without health warnings, or at least saying this is an advertorial and do verify the facts within it. I actually think that the law is pretty clear, and therefore there's a call out to colleagues in the media as well. Thank you very much and take care. Thanks for watching.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.